in the days after King Arthur. Call to arms. Our story. We are back in Britain now, and our story is but slightly behind in time from the events in the Great Inland Sea. Never has an island nation, outnumbered 10-1, brought men and horses to oust an enemy of such magnitude from Europe and been able to sustain such an attack with its long and tenuous supply lines and without holding a single castle in the enemy's wide territory. But such preparations were even now taking place in Britain, because good men cannot stand idly by while their brothers cry for aid. However, the time is not yet right, but is drawing ever near as the ships of Thule fare forth to make safe the local seas. From far away comes some bad news. The Huns, Goths, Vandals, Muslims, and Turks have formed an uneasy alliance for their common good. Each day it grows stronger, and they have formed a central headquarters in Vienna, in the heart of their collective empire, equidistant from all edges of the known world. Britain's warriors grow rash and restless, but Percival forestalls the invasion because summer's heat reigns over Europe now, and there is still much preparation to be done at home.
Soon.
Percival begins to think out loud while his new squire Arslan stands by. Arslan is so young, just a boy really, and too small to make a good warrior. But he is determined to make his mark in the world on the face of war.
What shall we do, fight? Mars and Venus, two extremes with us right in the middle. Arslan, the Earth is surrounded in its orbit by warlike Mars on the one side and by peaceful Venus on the other. We of the Earth are bound by love and beauty in the orbit above and by war and destruction in the orbit below. If not on Earth, then in heaven.
I will be a great warrior someday, my king.
But Arslan, is there not life to be lived and enjoyed?
If I die a warrior, my king, it is so that others might enjoy life, I suppose.
What to do, my boy? What to do?
I know not.
Well, replies Percival, since Taliesin is long gone, I shall go one last time to Avalon to find out what must be done, although I believe I already know the answer to the terrible decision that must be made. So the king travels to Avalon.
But where there was once mist and bog, there is now only clear sky and solid ground. The gods have departed, Taliesin gone with them. There is no more Lady of the Lake, no more Avalon. It is gone forever as if it had never existed. So Taliesin and his people, perhaps not gods, but certainly much more than men, had finally departed, as they'd said they would. Having made man in their own image, it was time for them to move on now to seed other worlds. When will we meet them again? Thinks Percival, the king and commander, as he returns. Well, Arslan, perhaps we do survive after death, immersed in the mind of the gods. But what matters now is social justice. Man, in his love and beauty, is the divine essence itself, perhaps. Maybe in man alone is our vision of God, a God created in man's image. But certainly if we fail now against the barbarian, then God dies with us, and all is lost forevermore, and the devil reigns supreme. Now comes what many believe and hope to be the final call to arms. But even so, the king and his captains know that there is yet much training to be done in a short period of time. Britons, Celts, and Scandians heed the mobilization call. Many who were once enemies of Britain are united by the common foe and come as well. The Scots, the Saxons, the Jutes, and the Danes. As summer begins to fade, the Arabs take Tunis, and Gunhar's fleet wends its way from whence Rome in eternal grandeur stands. But some feel that the largest crusade ever to be taken by man will fail, and they have many questions for Perceval.
How will we gain food and drink in Europe if our supply lines run out?
If we are right and good, then the people will feed us.
How will we take Europe's strongly fortified castles?
Well, we helped build those castles, didn't we? So we can easily unbuild them.
Meanwhile, the Huns cross the Rhine, and the Ostrogoths, the gentler cousins of the Visigoths, leave the Ukraine, carrying all that they own and hold dear, driven from their homes. King Perceval drills his knights and foot soldiers without rest to perfect them in his new tactics. His captains grumble. There will be no individual heroics, just machine-like efficiency. The bugler calls the troops to the king's standard at the end of another day as the horsemen practice the taunting of the boar. In this particular drill, an enemy which holds high ground is patiently taunted by bowmen into charging into a valley of death. This day there is a chill in the air as the dry season begins and the natural world begins its annual decay. But there are many drills and calls yet to be perfected. There is the flight of the seagull, in which several flocks of horsemen seemingly float and flutter about the field of battle to feast on scraps of enemy garbage. There is the sting of the bee, in which the best of the lancemen suddenly converge and swarm from the wide field of battle and head straight for a vital enemy area. There is also the charge of the wounded bear, in which reserve horsemen hide inside caves or woods while defeat is feigned on the field. Then, when all seems lost and the enemy breaks ranks to partake in the slaughter, the reserves rush forth into the confused flanks of the enemy as the retreaters suddenly turn back on the enemy. All such calls of the bugler must be memorized, with each man knowing well his part, since there is little else that can be heard above the sounds of battle. Each day near the end of practice, a special call, the crane, is signaled. Although it is practically useless in battle due to its complexity and intricate timings, not well suited to the wildness and emotion of the battlefield. Invented by Gawain, its use now in practice is necessary if only to build discipline and attention to memorize detail under pressure. In the crane, the enemy is given many openings wherewith they could easily totally triumph, while the perpetuators seemingly stand first on only one leg, then on the other, then on neither, until apparently unrelated wide field maneuvers finally come together in pincer-like movements which devour the enemy from the end to the middle in slices.